We're standing at the mouth of the Moss Landing in the center of the Monterey Bay area. The oceans that you see behind us are considered a sanctuary. The cartel has bought the fishing licenses, trawlers, and permits from San Francisco to the Mexican border and have put them in a pool in which the local fishermen can no longer compete. This certainly feeds the cartels. You've got the Packards with testing of ocean-fed fish in huge bins offshore. In fact, I understand that they're one of the biggest fishing outfits that collect bluefin tuna, which is almost outlawed by most of the American fishermen in these parts. The independent fishing community has been devastated by design. Again, the cartels using the so-called for the good of the world, the cartels are sucking up every bit of industry, every bit of assets. Again, it was Rockefeller and Leon Panetta, sponsored by the Pew. It was a Pew commission. Pew is Sun Oil. It's always oil, banking, Federal Reserve, intelligence that is taking every solitary thing that people here once owned. It is relentless, it's ongoing, and the power plant on the other side in front of me is owned by Blackstone, which is owned by Pete Peterson and his vice chair, Alan Schwartzman, a member of the Skull and Bones. These people are relentless and will take everything you got. This is an area owned and controlled lock, stock, and barrel by the cartels. We're looking at the Blackstone-owned power plants that has contracts with PG&E. PG&E is the providers for electricity and gas in the northern part of California, and they contract with ICLEI, which is a front for the World Bank, and they're actively conforming all the laws in preparation for a North American Union. They are presently installing what they call smart meters throughout the state, and those actually monitor every device that is generating electricity in your home. They have the ability to cut off electricity to you as punishment. They can increase bills without your knowledge because it's all digital. There's no constant read that you have control over. These are truly the robber barons of the 21st century. These are truly the 20th century robber barons. Their greed is insatiable, and they will not be content until they cull the world, which has been advocated by the largest landowner in the United States, which is Ted Turner. He stated he'd like to see a world population of 250 to 300 million people. Barbara Marx Hubbard, who's an advisor for the Futurist magazine, includes previous World Bank presidents such as Robert McNamara, says that she's a rider of the pale horse death and that they intend to eliminate 1/4 of the world population, and for us not to worry that she's going to do it. Yeah, a lot of people are not familiar that they are really peons in this world here, this feudalistic Monterey Bay area. Behind me we have a power plant that was purchased within the year, and it was purchased at a very high price. It had been losing a lot of money, but a premium was paid for it. It was bought by Blackstone. Head of Blackstone is Pete Peterson, who was head of the Council on Foreign Relations for more than a decade. The vice chairman is Alan Schwartzman, a member of Skull and Bones. A little more to the right, there's a marine experimental program going on by the Packard Foundation. And David Packard was an initial member of the Trilateral Commission with Brzezinski and David Rockefeller. Most of the lands around here are purchased by the Land Trust. Again, it takes the property off the tax rolls and puts it into the hands of the cartels once again. And they have the ability, under their contracts, to convert it to any of their commercial purposes later on after they do the culling and they get rid of the useless eaters and the people that they consider, that Prince Philip and other people consider ants and in the way. But once again, this is in Moss Landing in the center of the Monterey Bay area. The Monterey Bay area itself is considered a sanctuary. Leon Panetta was part of the Pew Ocean Commission, together with David Rockefeller Jr., advocating that the oceans be turned over to the United Nations. The people are being stolen of their country and their lands, and the coup d'etat is active and ongoing. The soft kill continues with the chemtrails and with the fluoridated water and the sterolins put into foods, and the people's will seems to be resisted with the exception of a handful, the Paul Reveres, that are waking the people up. All they need to do is look at their history, look in the sky, look at who's doing it to them, and stop the killing and return themselves to individuals with real rights and demand their freedom. Behind me is a research center. Again, it's off the tax rolls, and that's put together by Packard. And again, they're testing to develop harvestable fish that are pinned. At the same time, competing with the independent fishermen, preventing them from doing their regular catches. The fishing permits from San Francisco to the Mexican border have been pooled and purchased by the billionaires, and they will be the ones that will be able to compete to use those drawing rights for their harvest. They bought the trawlers from that stretch of land also, putting many fishermen out of business and on the tax rolls, on the welfare rolls. Many of them, several of them, in fact, in this harbor within the last 8 weeks have committed suicide because of the economic disaster brought to them. But at the same time, we see Wall Street reaching ever higher peaks as the cartelist, people in charge of the cartels, continue to consolidate and take over every single human action that the people used to choose for themselves. They are no longer independent. They're being put into a new serfdom, a new feudalism, technological feudalism, and at the same time being sterilized, and their behavior is being modified through contaminants put into the water. It is the largest town in the Santa Cruz area. They have voted to put in, the city council voted to put in the fluoride when the people voted a majority not to. The people are being forced fed fluoride, and from the skies here we are being dumped on constantly in an accelerated form, especially over the last 3 or 4 weeks with the contaminants of aluminum and barium. This is a coup d'etat. This is a revolution that's taking place here, more exact and more deadly than what's going on in Northern Africa or the Middle East. The coup is happening both at the city council level, where they are meeting the contracts that they have made with the Front for the World Bank called ICLEI, and they have no intention on going any other direction.